My name is Madison, a 35-year-old interior designer based in Charlotte, North Carolina. Life had always felt stable and secure. I had loving parents, a promising career, and a husband I adored. But everything changed when I lost my parents unexpectedly. They left behind an extraordinary inheritance, a beautiful mansion worth millions, filled with memories and their hopes for my future. Shortly after their passing, my husband Nathan, 36, and I moved into the mansion. It felt like a sanctuary, a tribute to my family's love and their dreams for me. I was determined to honor their legacy and turn this home into the foundation for our own future, where we could one day raise a family. Nathan, initially supportive, seemed to share in my excitement, but everything shifted when his mother, Valerie, found out about the inheritance. What started as friendly congratulations quickly turned into something much more demanding. Valerie began making hints about family support and how we should share the wealth. One afternoon, as I was finalizing a new design project, Valerie barged in, assertive as ever. She wasted no time proposing an idea that completely threw me off guard. She wanted a portion of my inheritance, specifically, enough to buy herself a luxurious home. Her reasoning? As family, she claimed she was entitled to a piece of the fortune I had inherited. Madison, she said with a tight smile, think of it as an investment in our family's future. If you're living in luxury, why shouldn't we all share in that good fortune? I was shocked. Trying to stay calm, I explained that I couldn't give away such a significant portion of my inheritance. This house wasn't just a piece of property. It was my parents' legacy, and I had plans to preserve it, not sell it away. Her expression darkened. So you don't care about supporting your family? She snapped, turning to Nathan for support. Doesn't it seem fair, Nathan, that Madison should want to share some of what she has? Nathan, who had always been close to his mother, looked uncomfortable. He seemed torn between us, and I could tell she was trying to sway him to her side. Madison, maybe we should at least talk about it, he said, hesitating and glancing between his mother and me. My heart sank. The man I once trusted as my partner now seemed uncertain, and the pressure from both of them felt overwhelming. Please, Nathan, I said, holding my ground. This house isn't just a piece of wealth, it's my parents' legacy. They worked tirelessly for this, and I have plans to honor their memory. I can't just give away something so valuable on a whim. Valerie's expression turned icy. A whim, Madison? Let's not forget that you had no one to rely on after your parents passed. And now this is how you repay us, she said with venom in her voice. My heart raced, but I stood firm. Valerie, I appreciate the support your family gave me, but that doesn't mean I owe you millions for a luxury home. I'm happy to help in other ways, but not like this. Valerie glared at Nathan, her frustration unmistakable. Is this really the woman you chose to marry, Nathan? Someone who values money over family? Nathan shifted uncomfortably, his eyes dropping to the floor. Madison, she's not asking for all of it, just a portion. Maybe we can find a middle ground. My heart ached. The man I had once trusted to stand by my side was now wavering. Nathan, there's no compromise here. This house, this inheritance, it's everything to me. I've already given up so much, and I won't be coerced into giving away what my parents worked their whole lives to create. Valerie scoffed, her voice dripping with disdain. Typical. You get a little wealth, and suddenly you think you're above us. Family doesn't hoard wealth. Family shares it. With that, she stormed out, leaving behind an oppressive silence. I turned to Nathan, hoping he would understand my point of view, but his silence only deepened my frustration. Over the next few days, Valerie's behavior grew colder. Her visits were filled with biting comments about selfishness and family duty. And Nathan, rather than standing by me, seemed to retreat, caught between his mother's demands and my steadfast refusal. One evening, Valerie arrived with Nathan's sister, Alice. The tension in the air was thick, and I could sense it was an ambush. As they sat down, their faces stern, Valerie didn't waste any time. Madison, it's clear you don't understand what family means. We should all benefit from your good fortune. Asking for millions is a reasonable request, but you keep refusing. It's selfish, Alice added, her voice laced with disdain. It's wrong for you to hoard everything while we struggle. Don't you see how that makes you look? I turned to Nathan, hoping he would intervene, but he sat in silence, avoiding my gaze. Taking a deep breath, I responded, this inheritance is meant to secure my future, not to satisfy demands that have nothing to do with genuine need. I won't apologize for protecting what my parents left me. Valerie's face flushed with rage, and she stood up, eyes blazing. You think you're better than us because of this money, don't you? You wouldn't have anything if it weren't for this family. Her words stung, but I kept my composure. I've helped where I can, but that doesn't mean I'll just hand over millions because you think you deserve it. At that, Valerie lost her temper. In a swift, furious motion, she slapped me across the face. The force of the blow left me staggered, the sting burning on my cheek. How dare you disrespect me? She hissed, her face contorted with rage. You don't understand loyalty, you don't understand family. Alice sneered, her tone venomous. You don't belong here, Madison. This house would be better off without you. I steadied myself, fighting to keep my emotions in check. Get out of my house, I said, my voice calm but resolute. You've crossed every line, and I won't put up with it anymore. Nathan stood frozen, his shock evident as he was torn between his loyalty to his mother and his commitment to me. But instead of standing up for me, he averted his gaze, unwilling to meet my eyes. As Valerie and Alice left, their faces void of any remorse, I felt a wave of strength course through me. Straightening up, I touched my cheek, the sting from the slap a harsh reminder of how far they had pushed me. Nathan, I said, my voice a mix of hurt and determination. Are you really going to let this happen? Your family just attacked me in our home, and you're standing there saying nothing. Nathan looked conflicted, his voice barely audible. Madison, maybe if you'd just listened, this wouldn't have happened. His words stung more than the slap itself. So you think I deserve this? I asked, my voice thick with disbelief. You're willing to stand by while they treat me this way, and then blame me for it. Valerie's sharp voice lingered in the air as she left. This isn't over, Madison. Either you give us what's ours, or you'll regret it. That was the breaking point. I've had enough. You can't bully me into giving up what's mine. And if you don't leave willingly, I'll make sure you're forced out. I took a deep breath and dialed my lawyer. Valerie's fury was unmistakable as she tried to snatch the phone from my hand, but I quickly stepped back, keeping it out of her reach. You're making a huge mistake, she hissed. You're turning against your family. Alice chimed in, her voice laced with venom. You'll regret this, Madison. No one crosses us and wins. I raised my hand, cutting them off. Enough. Get out of my house now. If you ever come here again without my permission, I'll involve the authorities. Valerie scoffed, her defiance palpable. We'll see about that. With one last glare, Valerie and Alice stormed out, leaving a tense silence in their wake. Nathan hesitated for a moment, casting one last conflicted look at me before following them out, leaving me standing alone in our home. As the door slammed behind them, the full weight of what had just transpired hit me. I had been attacked in my own home, and Nathan, the man who had once vowed to always stand by me, had chosen his family over me. The sense of betrayal was almost physical, but I knew I couldn't let them intimidate me into relinquishing my inheritance. I grabbed my phone and called Mr. Anderson, my lawyer, explaining everything that had just happened. He listened attentively, his voice calm and assuring. Madison, he said, it sounds like your in-laws are trying to exploit your inheritance. We can take immediate legal action to protect your property and stop any further harassment. I'd recommend filing for a restraining order. This will prevent them from approaching you or the mansion without serious consequences. Relief flooded through me. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. I'll gather whatever documents you need right away. I just want to make sure they can't do anything like this again. Good plan, he replied. Make sure to document everything that happened today, including the physical assault and any witnesses if there are any. This will strengthen our case. With newfound determination, I spent the next few hours gathering all the necessary documents. The property deeds, my parents' will, and any papers proving my sole ownership of the mansion. I carefully noted every detail of the confrontation, including the slap and Nathan's failure to intervene. The following day, I met Mr. Anderson at his office. After handing over all the necessary paperwork, he immediately filed for a restraining order against Valerie, Alice, and anyone else who dared to infringe upon my rights to the property. Within a few days, the restraining order was officially in place. For the first time in what felt like ages, I experienced a fleeting sense of peace. However, Nathan's behavior continued to grow more distant. He avoided eye contact, spent the majority of his time at his mother's house, and showed no remorse for his family's actions. One evening, Nathan returned home looking grim. He sat across from me, fidgeting nervously. "Madison, this whole situation is spiraling out of control. My family feels completely betrayed. Can't we find a way to fix this without going through the courts?" I looked at him, my patience starting to wear thin. "Nathan, your family has crossed every line possible. Valerie physically attacked me, and you said nothing. This isn't just an argument. This is about protecting what's rightfully mine." He sighed deeply, avoiding my gaze. "I just don't want to lose my family." I could feel my voice tremble with emotion as I responded. "And what about me, Nathan? I'm supposed to be your family too. You're asking me to give up my parents' legacy like it doesn't mean a thing. Is that how family loyalty works to you?" He remained silent. After a tense pause, he stood up and walked away, leaving me feeling heartbroken yet more determined than ever. Days went by, and I focused on reinforcing my boundaries. I was resolute in protecting my inheritance and my parents' legacy, even if it meant doing so alone. Nathan, however, grew even more withdrawn, choosing to spend most of his time with Valerie and Alice, leaving me to process everything on my own. Just when I thought things might finally be calming down, Valerie made an even more audacious move. One afternoon, she arrived at the mansion with Alice and Nathan's brother, Jeremy. They had brought movers with them and seemed determined to take possession of the house, as if they had every right to do so. Watching them from the window, my anger and disbelief surged. How could they so blatantly ignore the restraining order and assume they were above the law? Without hesitation, I grabbed my phone and dialed. "Hello, this is Madison Blake," I said with a calm, steady voice. "My in-laws are trespassing on my property, in direct violation of a court-ordered restraining order. They've even brought movers to forcibly enter my home. I need the police to come immediately." The dispatcher assured me that officers were on their way. Taking a deep breath, I went outside to confront them, determined not to let them bully me any further. Valerie spotted me immediately, her face twisting in contempt. "Madison, stop with this nonsense. This is a family matter, and the police have no business here. If you had any decency, you'd share what you have." I stood my ground, my voice unwavering. "This is my home, and you have no right to take it from me." Alice stepped forward, her voice dripping with mockery. "You're making this harder than it needs to be, Madison. Just hand over the millions and make it easier on everyone." Before I could respond, I heard sirens wailing in the distance. Valerie's expression drained of color as the realization hit her. The police arrived moments later, their faces serious as they assessed the scene. I approached one of the officers and handed over the restraining order. "Officer, these people are violating a court-ordered restraining order and attempting to take possession of my home," I explained firmly. The officer nodded, turning toward Valerie, Alice, and Jeremy with a serious expression. "Ma'am, you are trespassing on private property and disregarding a court-issued restraining order. You must leave immediately, or we will have no choice but to take legal action." Valerie's voice became shrill with anger as she protested. "This is a family matter. You have no right to get involved." The officer stood his ground. "If you do not leave now, you will be arrested." Reluctantly, Valerie took a step back, her eyes burning with fury as she shot me a venomous glare. "This isn't over, Madison. You'll regret turning your back on this family." I met her gaze with unwavering strength. "You're no longer welcome here, Valerie. This is my home, and I won't let anyone take it from me." As the officers escorted them off the property, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I had taken a stand, protecting what was mine against those who tried to manipulate and control me. That evening, something inside me shifted. The confrontation had drained me, but it also marked the end of a chapter in my life. I realized that I could no longer share my future with someone who let his family walk all over my dignity and my boundaries. The betrayal had cut too deep, and I knew it was time to make a clean break for my own peace and future. Later that evening, Nathan returned home, looking weary and conflicted. I could tell he had already heard about what had transpired from his mother. His face was a mixture of anger and sorrow as he approached me. "Madison," he began quietly, "we can't keep going on like this. This isn't the life I imagined for us. My family feels abandoned. Isn't there any way we can end this without all the legal conflict?" I looked at him, feeling both sadness and clarity. "Nathan, I gave your family every chance to respect my boundaries. I tried to find a compromise, but they refused to listen. Your mother physically attacked me, and you did nothing. This is more than a family disagreement. It's about safety, respect, and protecting what's rightfully mine. Nathan sighed, avoiding my gaze. I just don't want to lose my family, he muttered. And what about me, Nathan? I replied, my voice thick with emotion. I was supposed to be your family too, but every time they made demands, you chose them over me. Is that the kind of loyalty I'm supposed to accept? A heavy silence filled the room as my words lingered in the air. Nathan shifted uncomfortably, and after a long moment, it seemed he understood that this was the end. His shoulders slumped, and he gave a small, defeated nod, unable to look me in the eye. I guess I can't undo what's already been done, he whispered, more to himself than to me. No, Nathan, I said softly. I can't keep sacrificing my peace for a relationship that's one-sided. It's time for both of us to move on. With that, I asked him to pack his things and leave the mansion. There were no arguments, no desperate pleas to change my mind. Within hours, he was gone, and I stood alone in the quiet emptiness of the house. While the decision weighed heavily on me, there was also a sense of lightness, a quiet satisfaction in knowing I had regained control of my life. In the weeks that followed, I threw myself into rebuilding, not just the mansion, but my life. I hired contractors to restore and redesign parts of the house, turning it into a reflection of my strength and independence. Each room became a symbol of my journey, every piece of art and furniture representing a fresh start. The mansion, once a solemn reminder of my parents' legacy, was now a sanctuary, my place of empowerment and freedom. I reconnected with friends, dove back into my work, and even started volunteering at local art programs to give back to the community. With every step forward, the weight of the past grew lighter, replaced by a new sense of quiet confidence and joy I hadn't felt in years. One evening, as I stood on the grand balcony of the mansion, watching the sunset, a profound peace settled over me. The journey had been painful, but I had emerged stronger, more self-assured, and ready to embrace the life I had fought so hard to protect. The mansion was no longer just a house. It had become a symbol of my courage and the strength I had found within myself. For the first time in a long while, I was ready to move forward, knowing that my life was truly my own. I had the power to shape my future, free from the burdens of the past. Thank you for watching. If Madison's story of resilience and strength resonated with you, please like, comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more empowering stories. Stay tuned for the next tale filled with twists and unforgettable moments.